The realm. Do you know what the realm is? It's the 1,000 blades of Aegon's enemies. A story we agreed to tell each other over and over till we forget that it's a lie.
What's up, ladies and gentlemen? Welcome back for another Game of Thrones video. In this video, I would like to discuss what actress Maisie Williams said during one of her interviews for The Hollywood Reporter. Now, before I go any further, I just have to say this is not breaking news. I want to make sure everyone knows this article wasn't released yesterday. Maisie Williams actually sat down for this interview a few months ago, but I somehow completely missed this information until now. There is a chance some of you are already aware of this, and I would have already made a video about it if I had known it was revealed, but I haven't seen any of you mention this on my videos either, so maybe some of you don't know. I just had to make a video about this because it directly relates to something I have discussed before. I think I would be doing a disservice to all of you if I never mentioned this myself, so let's get into it. When Maisie Williams sat down for this interview, she dropped a massive bombshell about the final season. What she said basically confirmed what a lot of us were already thinking, but that's not the only reason why I'm making the video. I think what she said does give us a better indication of where George R.R. Martin will end his books. Now, I don't want to say it confirms anything for a fact, but I believe it does, especially when you consider all of the foreshadowing that's already been laid out. Let me read what was said during the interview, then I will explain exactly what I mean. In the article, Maisie Williams reveals what should have happened during the Night King's original ending. It says, nearly 16 months after the series finale of Game of Thrones, Williams may have added a new wrinkle to the season's most enduring moment, as well as its biggest swerve, which saw Arya Stark strike the fatal blow to the series' big bad. She said, actor Kit Harington expected it to go Jon Snow's way, and he even said it should have went that way. All the way back in Season 3, he said someone told him Jon Snow would be the one who would kill the Night King. This is what he thought would happen for the remainder of the series. That is until he read the script for the final season. The writers did not bother letting him know about the new direction they were heading in beforehand. Dan and Dave most likely wanted to see his reaction in front of everyone else. That's like a slap in the face if you ask me. Now, he never did say who told him he would kill the Night King. All he said was they told him that during the 3rd season. I'm assuming it was the writers who gave him this information, although I don't know that for sure. I just think it had to be someone high up though, otherwise he wouldn't have believed it for so long. Thankfully, we do have video evidence of his first reaction when finding out Arya would kill the Night King instead of him.
She vaults off a pile of dead whites, leaps at the Night King, and she plunges the dagger up through the Night King's armor, and the Night King shatters.
Now, we do see him crack a little smile during that read-through, but happiness wasn't the only emotion he felt. He did later reveal that he was upset about the change of direction, and I don't blame him either. I would have been upset as well. Now, this is only speculation, but I bet he felt somewhat betrayed. I would almost guarantee, way back in Season 3, when he found out he would be the one who would kill the Night King, it wasn't just some offhand remark. I doubt one of the writers simply said, "You're gonna kill the Night King," then just walked away. They most likely had a conversation about it, and maybe even a sit-down of their own, where they explained why Jon Snow would kill the Night King. Over the next 4 or 5 years, he went on believing that's how it would end. Now, this is how he really felt when he found out who would kill the Night King. The actor said, "I was a bit pissed off, only because I wanted to kill the Night King. I think I felt like everyone else did, in that it had been set up for a long time, and then I didn't get to do it. But I was so happy for Maisie and Arya." He's absolutely right. They had been foreshadowing Jon versus the Night King from the very beginning. Now, where do you think this information was from? Maisie Williams found this out from Harington, and he found this out from one of the writers, in my opinion, but where did they get the information? Was it their own original idea before they changed it, or was it from George? And if it was from George, will this happen in his books? Well, if, and that's a big if I'm right about this information coming from Dan and Dave, then I bet this was originally from George himself. Remember, Kit Harington said he found out Jon would kill the Night King back in Season 3 before the Night King was even introduced. Well, this is right around the same time Dan and Dave learned how George would end his books. Let me break it down for you. All the way back in 2014, Dan and Dave sat down for an interview, and this is when they revealed they knew how things would end. Let me show you exactly what they said. When they were interviewed by Vanity Fair, they said, Last year, we went out to Santa Fe for a week to sit down with George R.R. Martin and just talk through where things are going, because we don't know if we are going to catch up and where exactly that would be. If you know the ending, then you can lay the groundwork for it, and so we want to know how everything ends. We want to be able to set things up. Remember what they're saying here. They sat down with George so they could know his ending, because they wanted to be able to set things up for the ending as soon as they could. Then they go on to say, so we just sat down with him and literally went through every character. George R.R. Martin said, I can give them the broad strokes of what I intend to write, but the details aren't there yet. I'm hopeful that I cannot let them catch up with me. So George basically gave them the endings of the main characters, but he didn't know everything these characters would go through to get there. Keep in mind, Dan and Dave sat down for this interview back in March of 2014, and during this interview, they said they had their little sit down with George last year. That means they found out the ending all the way back in 2013. They learned it in 2013, and actor Kit Harington said he learned of Jon Snow's ending during Season 3. Well, what do you know? Season 3 aired back in 2013, the same year Dan and Dave had their sit down with George R.R. Martin. Now I'm speculating here, but I would bet Jon Snow's ending originated from this meeting. George gave the info to Dan and Dave in 2013, then Dan and Dave gave the info to the actors during Season 3. If you remember, this is how actor Isaac Hempstead Wright found out Bran Stark would be the king in the books as well. He knew the info was from George himself because Dan and Dave said that's where they got it from. It wasn't until a few years after they had this meeting with George when they decided, you know what, we don't like that ending. We don't want Jon Snow killing the Night King because it's obvious, although it should be obvious by the final season because they had been setting it up that way for nearly a decade. That's the whole reason they had to sit down at George's anyway. They said they needed to know how it ended so they could start setting things up in the following seasons. This is also why Kit Harington still believed he would kill the Night King because it was always set up that way. Now I'm sure you've all seen the inside the episode by now, but that was when Dan and Dave admitted they changed it on their own.
Hope to kind of avoid the expected, and Jon Snow has always been the hero, the one who's been the savior, but it just didn't seem right to us for this moment. We knew it had to be Valyrian steel. For, God, I think it's probably 3 years now or something, we've known that it was going to be Arya who delivers that fatal blow.
They never said George doesn't like that ending, they said we don't like that ending, as in Dan and Dave. They decided they wanted Arya to kill the Night King around Season 6, or roughly 3 years before the final season aired. Remember, there were some big gaps in between those last few seasons. Dan and Dave did the exact thing George R.R. Martin said you should never do as a writer. They betrayed their own story in more than one way.
And then the other one was, of course, I have certain things that I'm laying clues for, that there'll be revelations later on. Some people had put together those clues even as early as 1998 and are adding things together. I said, well, what do I do with that? What do I do with that? These people have guessed the secret that I'm going to reveal in Book 6. People have already guessed that here, and Book 2 is just out. You really have two choices there. You can ignore it and proceed with your plan, despite the fact that some people know where you're going. Or you can get all panicky and say, oh my God, they figured it out. I can't let that be. I'll have to change it. I'll have to go in a different direction. And I think some writers do that. And I think that's always a mistake.
Yeah.
You know, if you've planned your book that the butler did it, and then you read on the internet, someone has figured out that the butler did it, and you suddenly change in midstream and it was the chambermaid who did it, then you screw up the whole book, because you get this foreshadowing early on, and you've got these little clues you planted. Now they're dead ends, and you have to introduce other clues, and you're retconning. It's a mess. So I decided, as early as Dragonstone's heyday, I would stay off the fan sites and let those be for the fans, let those be for the readers, let them argue their theories, whether they're right, whether they're wrong.
Now, I do realize some of you are sick of hearing about this argument over who should have killed the Night King. I get it, believe me, I do. There are some things I'm sick of hearing about, but I will never forgive them for this. I can't believe I'm just now seeing this interview where Maisie Williams revealed the information. Although some of us already knew this, I still believe it is a massive revelation, because this might be how George will end his story. Assuming he is the one who gave this info to Dan and Dave, and then Dan and Dave were the ones who gave it to Kit Harington. Now, there is not a Night King in the books, at least not yet. In the books, we do hear stories about the original Night's King who ruled the Night Fort thousands of years ago, but we have yet to see if there is an actual leader of the White Walkers. I realize I might be alone on this, but I absolutely believe the White Walkers do have a leader. Now, whether that leader is just another White Walker, or a Blood Raven, or an ancient member of the Children of the Forest is still to be seen. Whatever the case may be, I do think there is a leader who will be revealed in the Winds of Winter. And based on everything I've read in the books, I think Jon Snow will be the one who ultimately stops them. He won't do it alone, obviously, but he will be the X Factor. I feel like the foreshadowing has been there from the very beginning, just like it was in the show. It seems obvious now because we've all been discussing it for years, and thanks to the internet, things spread like wildfire and live on forever. Since so many of us have been discussing it for so long, there are now some fans who no longer like the idea of Jon killing the Night King. The same way there are some fans who got sick of hearing about the RLJ theory. But like George said, just because someone figures it out, doesn't mean you scramble and freak out, then go back and change it. You cannot do that, otherwise it ruins your story. So now we know. Jon should have killed the Night King, but for some dumb and dumber reason, Dan and Dave thought they had a better idea instead. As you all know, I was so invested in the Northern storylines, I could go on about this for hours, but I don't want to do that. I only wanted to give my thoughts on this subject because, although it is very frustrating, it is an interesting reveal as well. Let me know what all of you have to say about it. Do you think this is how George wants Jon's story to end? And where do you think this info came from? Leave your thoughts down below. As always, I want to thank everyone for watching my video and supporting the channel. Have a great day. I will see you soon. Bye.